Yeah, I think I misunderstood what you meant by Tomb Raider. The mid-90s was a strange time for video games. More and more studios were making the switch to 3D, and some of them were a lot better than others. Basically, if you made a game where the player could actually control the character, yeah, that was a success. I know a lot of people credit Mario 64 for helping influence a lot of early 3D platformers, and yeah, no shit, but there's another game that I think had just as much of an impact that doesn't really get talked about. That's right, I'm talking about Glover's 64. Game about the giant fucking hand. Tomb Raider was released in 1996. It's one of the most iconic PlayStation 1 games ever made. I can't imagine many people bought this for their SEGA Saturn. The game sold incredibly well for obvious reasons. While there's been a bunch of games released since, none of them have really been as popular as the game's protagonist, Lara Croft. Throughout the late 90s, Lara Croft was featured on magazine covers, appeared in TV ads, and hell, they even made a couple of Hollywood movies featuring Angelina Jolie. Movie sucks. They still make games, and they tend to review pretty well, but it's clear that the popularity Lara Croft once had isn't really there anymore. There's a few things you can attribute to this. I think in general, video game mascots and the advertisements around those brands have started to die out. I mean, when was the last time you saw Sonic running around with the fucking Honey Nut Cheerios bee? Gaming consoles are able to sell fine on their own, and shit, video games have only grown more popular. The closest comparison to the level of fame Lara Croft had would be Master Chief. The Halo series absolutely dominated the mid to late 2000s. I mean, the games were just incredible, and back then, Master Chief was a pretty cool guy. Now he's in fucking Fortnite. Jesus Christ, what am I looking at? With the announcement of a new Tomb Raider TV show, it sparked my interest in the series again. And since I haven't played that game in about 20 years, I wanted to go back and see if it's as good as I remember. And after about 15 minutes, I realized that, yeah, this is pretty much a horror game. The game starts with those iconic PlayStation 1 FMV videos, and boy oh boy, they really knew how to take up 1/5 of the screen back then. I actually like how these look. There's a couple of cool shots of Lara, and they're able to establish what type of character she is. When the first 2 minutes, she's killed a bunch of wolves and a Mexican. Not off to a great start. The game's menu reminds me a lot of Sonic Adventure 2. Just want to throw that out there. Also, the little PlayStation controller. That's fucking cute, alright? I like that. Before you start the game, you're given the option to play a tutorial level. And notice how I said given the option. Remember when games did that? Remember not having a fucking game shove a tutorial down your throat? If you ever wondered how rich Lara Croft is, well, she's rich enough to buy a big fuck-off mansion. The level itself teaches you the basics of how the game controls, plus it's narrated by Lara herself.
I don't actually run everywhere.
It's kind of just a big area you can mess around in until you understand how the game works. Not quite sure what the giant piano is here for, but okay. Anyway, here we are, the first level, and not really a lot going on. Besides it taking place in a dark and empty cave, the tone here is mainly set by the music. And by that, I mean the lack of it. All you'll hear is the sound of Lara's footsteps, and if you're lucky, some wind. See, a lot of modern games try to scare the player by making the screen too dark to see or having a bunch of stupid fucking jump scares everywhere. I know there's going to be something behind this door. I just said, fuck! Tomb Raider feels oddly claustrophobic. The cave you explore is pretty big and open-ended. It's not even that dark, but something feels off. The game does a really good job of creating suspense and tension. You know before making a turn around the corner or climbing onto a ledge that there's going to be something on the other side. God, I hope it's not wolves. And after a couple of minutes of playing, it happens. The first thing you encounter here besides yourself is bats. Tiny fucking bats. See, this is good. This is good game design. The sound of the bats is what you hear first, and then they appear, but at a distance. The game doesn't try to be cheap and put you in an unfair situation where there's not enough time to react. Like another game. We even saw Lara kill wolves earlier with her pistols, so now you know how to get rid of those bats. Fumbling around while trying to figure out which button to shoot, all kind of adds to that uneasy feeling, and it helps you identify with the character a little bit more. I mean, if fucking I'm stressed, I wonder how she feels. The controls themselves haven't aged the best. It kind of feels more like a point-and-click adventure game at times. While you do have full control of Lara, she doesn't control like how you expect her to. I've often seen people refer to this type of game design as having tank controls, and yeah, that's a good way of describing it. It definitely takes some getting used to, but I wouldn't say it's bad. It's mainly just the jumping and trying to turn while standing still that sucks. Oh look, wolves. Great. I really hate how they yelp like a dog when you start to shoot at them. It's also kind of creepy how their bodies just lie there after you've killed them. Graphics aren't really selling how brutal this is. I don't think this game gets enough credit for how it treats its soundtrack. I think it's pretty interesting how the game is able to create real tension and suspense by choosing when it plays its music. Damn, nearly gave me a heart attack the first time. See, you're not on edge because the game told you to be. No, you're on edge because you, the player, feel it. Again, it's impressive for a game that looks like this to be able to create real suspense. It's kind of like reading a book. The pace of the story is dictated by the reader. If something begins to get scary, you can always slow down, or you could choose not to read that book. Stupid cat in the hat, I hate it! There's real hesitation between changing the page, and this is the same goddamn feeling. I will say that a lot of the immersion I had already built up at this point was killed off by how difficult it was to flick a switch down. Whenever you're ready, Laura. The game does offer a fair amount of puzzles, and they get more complex as the level goes on, but the issue with the switch doesn't really go anywhere. Again, it's similar to the type of puzzles you'd find in a Zelda game. Collecting keys, pulling giant blocks across the room, it's all here. The game won't always be clear about what you're meant to do. I think a good example of this is in the second level, where you're having to explore this little underwater section. So the only other thing you can do here is go into this room. And okay, what are you meant to do here? You run around, you explore, and after a while you think, well, fuck, there's gotta be something hidden around here, right? Like a door or a switch? And then after running around some more, look at that! The hidden switch opens up a little door. How nice. So cool, that was something I unlocked purely by exploring the level. There was no cutscene that gave me a hint or anything. Kind of fun when a game doesn't hold your hand. Although a warning sign for the bear attack, that would have been nice. When exploring, you'll find additional health packs and different weapons, and as fun as the dual pistols are, there's nothing cooler than Laura holding a shotgun. I don't think the guy who had it before is looking too good. Now, while the game does feel somewhat grounded early on, you will, at a certain point, run into a giant T-Rex. Yep, game has fucking dinosaurs. This is one of my earliest memories from childhood. Watching my dad and older brother trying to beat this thing has stuck with me for years. Running into the smaller dinosaurs at first is a little bit of a what the fuck, but the reveal of the T-Rex is just perfection. Seeing this thing emerge out of the dark and run towards you is fucking terrifying. And when it gets a hold of you, brutal. As the game goes on, the environments become more interesting and it's really fun just getting to explore these large levels. Hell, even some of the enemies you face get weirder. For a game made in 1996, it still looks really good and a lot better than some of the other games from that generation. I'm fucking looking at you, Bubsy. I don't have much experience with the later portion of the game since as a kid I never really got past that fucking T-Rex. Again? Really? I did not expect to be killing gorillas and humans. I mean, Jesus Christ, you kill a lot of things in this game. The only other part I remember from this game is the last level. I mean, I must have had cheat codes when I played it first because I do have vivid memories of being absolutely terrified of the game's final boss. I know I haven't really talked about the story much, but after exploring caves and messing around with dinosaurs, you end up in Atlantis. Yep, the place from Kingdom Hearts. But unlike in that game, where you pretty much just sing songs with some fish, Atlantis in this game is full of weird little creatures with no skin. And that's basically what the final boss of the game is. There's just something off about watching this thing hatch from an egg and crawl around. It definitely has to be one of the scariest things I've ever experienced in a video game. I don't know if it's because half his body is missing, or the noises he makes, or when it grabs you, it fucks you all around the level, but it's just weird and it gave me nightmares as a kid and I don't like it. Looking at it now, yeah, it's dated and you could even say it's a little goofy, but I will never forget the way this thing made me feel. Anyway, once you kill it, you fight some bitch with wings and then sail off on a yacht. That's the end of the game. All in all, I think this game has held up incredibly well. It definitely deserves all the praise it's gotten since it was released. It's rare to find a game from that generation that's able to keep every new level interesting. I never really felt like I was just doing the same thing over and over again, and even when I was doing the same task, the different environments and teams and enemies kind of make everything feel a bit more unique. And the dinosaurs were a plus. The main theme is absolutely beautiful, and do yourself a favor and go listen to it in full. While some of the controls are a little bit dated, platforming and shooting still feel really good, and after a while you'll be dodging enemies and jumped around like fucking Spider-Man. There was a lot of work put into the game and it really shows. It might scare the hell out of me at times, but in my opinion, this is one of the best PlayStation 1 games ever made. There's also the HD remake that was released about a year or two ago, and from what I've seen, it's one of the better remasters. It's nothing too extreme, it's basically just a port with better models and controls. But yeah, if you don't have a way to play the original, then just pick this version up. Or emulate it, that's fine too. There's also a Game Boy Color version of the game. For some reason Lara Croft is 7 feet tall. Okay.